Hi guys, and welcome to yet another very exciting Adobe Illustrator tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to make this FJ40 Jeep illustration. So let's get started. First of all, let's lock the photo. So it does not move around. Now we are going to make an outline of this photo. Let's zoom in. Select the pen tool. Pen tool is used for drawing stuff if you already did not know. Change the stroke width and also turn off the fill color. Change the stroke color to something vivid or bright color. I prefer something pinkish or red so it stands out, because black and white does not really work on these sort of metal surfaces because there are a lot of dark places and a lot of reflections, so black and white color does not really look well. Now draw an outline of the whole body of the vehicle as precisely as you can, but do not be bogged down by the details too much. To curve the line with a pen tool, just click with the left mouse button and without letting go of the mouse button, drag and the line would be curved. If you guys want to learn about the details and all the tips about the pen tool and a dedicated video for it, I will make one, and all you have to do is left a request in the comment section, and if there were a lot of requests for it, then I will probably make a video for it. I'm going to speed up this process. I hope you guys can follow along. The process is the same. Just outline all the major parts of the vehicle that you want to include in your illustration. Of course, the details of an illustration is really up to you, how much you want to put into it. The more detail you would put into an illustration will not necessarily make it look good. Sometimes too much details make it less beautiful than simpler details, but more to the point. So be always mindful of that. Too much is not always a very good thing. Of course, the essential details could not be left, like making of this door and also the windows details and something like these. But the rest of the detail is really optional, whether you guys want to do it or not. One thing that people who are just beginning in graphic design, and whenever they try to replicate something from photos or something, or someone is drawing something, they go for ultra realism and want to replicate nature exactly like it is in the real world. Of course, that is, for one thing, is impossible, and other thing, it even if possible, it is really hard, and it's not necessarily needed all the time. We don't want the realism, we don't want the real stuff, because if you wanted the real stuff, the photo is already there, and one can go for the 3D objects or something else. Those mediums are totally different. What you are doing here is you are trying to mimic the nature, and mimicking nature does not mean that you have to go for every small little detail. You just only copy those parts which are essential for your design and your graphic style, and whatever make your design or illustration look good, just copy those things. For example, this window, you can see in the vehicle inside there are many details, but I just need one shape that you can reflect that seat inside it and one wheel drive. I'm not going for any extra details. I don't think so my illustration requires it. For the wheels, I'm just going to use two circles as a placeholder. I'm going to make details wheels later on. Okay, now let's clean up the outlines a little bit and cut the extra parts or lines if there are any. Once the outline sketch is completed, turn off the photo. Now we can work with our sketch only. Select the whole sketch, and now we are going to change its stroke color from pink to black. We don't need the pink color anymore. Okay, I might add some more details into it, but for the shortening of the video, sometimes I skip parts. So the sketch is completed. Now it's time to apply the basic colors. As you guys can see, I have made some extra details into it, like the tail at the back and some minor other details. They are not that hard to make. You can make them easily, just like I have made the entire outline sketch. So now let's select any shape and apply the color to it. You can apply color with the eyedropper tool. If you've seen any of my videos, this is my method of applying color with the eyedropper tool. One tip here for you guys is that if you hold down the control key while you have selected any tool, your cursor changes into the selection tool and you can select any shape without switching your primary or the tool that you are using currently. We are going to apply the gradient color to the tires, but we need to adjust the gradient. You can do that with the gradient tool from top to bottom. Just hold with the left mouse button and drag to the bottom. Apply the same gradient to the other tire. Of course, the rest of the details of the tire will be made by me after we have applied the basic colors. If any part is too small to see, just zoom in a little and then you can select it easily and then apply the color to it. You can select more than one shape by holding down the shift key and then clicking on several objects, and you will have selected multiple objects, and then you can apply color to all of them at once. For the small shapes, I would suggest that you reduce the stroke width because it will look good, at least in my opinion. Of course, you are not stuck with this red color for your Jeep. As you have seen after the intro video, you can of course give it any colors that you like, your favorite colors. Once the entire illustration is done, changing of the color is very easy, and you can give one illustration many colors by changing its core colors. And if you want to know how to change many colors of the same fill color at once and how to select them all at once, there is an easy way to do that. Just select one of the color shapes and go to select, and then go to the same color fill, and then it will select all the shapes. Then you can change all of its colors at once. It seems like that I have not made the whole of this silencer or the smoke exhaust. Let me make it and give it appropriate black color, so it will represent that the smoke is coming out of it, or it is at least blackened by the smoke. So our basic coloring is done. Now we will make the tires in the next part of the video. Okay, once the basic coloring is done, now we are going to make the wheels of our Jeep. So let's drag one of these wheels downwards from our work area, so we have some room to work with. Now hold Alt key to duplicate this tire. We are going to make a smaller circle in it. Go to Object, Path, and Offset Path. Now you can do this manually, but this is a more precise way of making smaller shapes or larger shape of the shape that are already with you. So once you have made a shape like this, we are going to remove the outside shape and just going to retain the inside one. Now go again to the object and offset path, and now make even a more smaller shape or circle inside it. Okay, now we are going to cut the smaller shape from the larger one, so we have a ring. Select both of the shapes, and with the shape builder tool we can cut it easily like so. Now we are going to change its gradient. If the gradient panel is not open in your workspace, go to Windows and click here on gradient, and it will pop up somewhere. Okay, change the colors of the gradient, one side to black, the other side to simpler white. Okay, we also need to turn off the stroke color. Okay, now reduce the opacity according to your test, but I think less than 40% is enough. We can adjust it later on if it does not look good. Okay, place it inside the other one and rotate its position so the lighter side is towards the upside. Now duplicate it again. Okay, now cut both of the outer rings. Just the middle circle we require, the smaller one. Now this time I'm going to make the circle manually. Of course you can use the offset method, but that command is for more precision. I think we can do it manually also. Cut it with the shape builder tool, another smaller circle. Apply the gradient that we just created, black and white. Okay, place this circle inside the bigger circle. These two circles, their gradients should be opposite each other. Make sure that these two circles have gradients in opposite directions. You can check that with the gradient tool. One should be going from top to bottom, white to black and black to white. Okay, so it gives it a feel of a depth. Now hold the Alt key and drag another circle. With the shape builder tool we are just gonna cut the outside shapes, just retain the smaller circle. And now with this we are going to create the rims of the wheels. Creating the rims of a wheel for a vehicle, it's very exciting, and you can create many different types of it. There is no rule of making just one type. Okay, create a shape like this, and now select the rotate tool. If you hold down the Alt key, it's going to appear 3 small circles, and if you click somewhere, it's going to place its anchor point there. And then from there, with the help of this panel of rotate tool, you can make duplicate copies, or you can rotate it very precisely. I'm going to rotate and make another copy of it at 45 degrees. Once one copy is created, then hit Ctrl D on the keyboard to make several copies. Once that is created, we are going to make 2 other circles inside this shape. Hold on the Shift key so the proportion of the circles are precise and accurate. Now make another smaller circle just inside. As I said before, you can make any sort of rims. You do not need to make it like me. Just look at in the internet any rims that you like. You can create a shape according to it. You do not need to use the shape builder tool. You can use the pen tool also for it. Okay, now there are 2 possibilities of making different sort of shapes. One is this, that we can duplicate this one and punch holes into it with the shape builder tools, and it's going to make a shape or a rim like this one. And the other one is we can just color the outside shapes. So the option is with you. I'm just going to drag this outside shape here and change its color to white. Just gonna use its stroke color on the white background of this other circle. I could use this shape, but I don't need it anymore, so I'm going to delete it by hitting the delete key on the keyboard. Okay, now the one last thing I want to do is I want to write something on the wheel. So for that, we need another circle or a path on which we can write our text. Align everything. Select the ellipse tool and make a circle or a shape where you want your text to appear. Okay, now select the text tool and hold the Alt key and click on the stroke of the circle, and a text will appear around the circle or the path. If you didn't hold the Alt key, then the text will just appear inside this shape. But if you hold the Alt key, then it will appear around it. Of course, you can change the font to your liking. You can adjust the rotation with these handles. You can bring it down, inside, or any place. It's up to you. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the color of the text to something more visible. For that purpose, I have selected this yellow color. Now our tire is created. Now we are just going to remove the tire placeholder shape and I'm going to replace it with our tire. We are going to remove the other tire placeholder also, and going to duplicate this tire and place it in its place. With that it's done, Our tires are done, and even their highlights and everything. Now the next thing we are going to do is going to make some shades. It's time to make now some shades and shadows for our Jeep. So let's get started with it. Always remember that the shades and shadows should be opposite to the highlights. Let's zoom into the top of the vehicle. Now select the pen tool. And draw shapes like this. Shades and shadows, these shapes are not fixed, because if you've seen shadows and highlights on any vehicle or shiny object or metallic object, they do not have any definite shape, so you can take liberty with it and make the sort of shapes that are pleasant or you think that looks good. With the shape builder tool, select all of these things and cut the redundant part. Now just select the new two shapes and change their color to black. Turn off their stroke and reduce their opacity. I think that's looking good. Of course, you guys do not have to make the shadows exactly like me. You can experiment with it, what looks good on your vehicle. Now come to the bottom area. We are again going to make shades. While the pen tool is selected and you are working with it, when you click with the left mouse button and you drag, the line is going to be curved and it's not going to be straight. Now again, select both of the shapes and cut the redundant part with the shape builder tool by holding the Alt key. Select it and with the eyedropper tool, sample it or the color from the top one. That's why you can easily adjust it. You do not have to adjust the opacity for every shape. Making one shade or shadow a lower opacity object over another one, it gives it the feeling that the shadows are not monotone and they have depth to it. Again, cut it with the shape builder tool. Again, select it with the eyedropper tool. Take a sample from the above shapes. As you can see, we have made shades for the bottom area also. Just zoom into the wheels. I think this smaller inner circle can use a shade. Just duplicate it by holding the Alt key and dragging. And now cut a small shape from it with the shape builder tool. Now place it back at its place. Duplicate it and bring another copy for the other wheel. These small details, of course, they do not grab too much attention, but with the whole illustration as a whole, they increase its overall value. We are going to make some shades for this bottom piece also. place the upper shape on the upper side. We are going to use it as a highlight just by changing its color to white. Select the rectangle tool, then make a shape like this, and then select the direct selection tool and curve the anchor points. And now make a duplicate copy of it and cut one copy from the other one by selecting them both and hold the Alt key with the shape builder tool. Change their opacities. I think this shape would look better with a little more opacity. Bring these shapes forward. Now we are going to make some shadow for the lower side of the door. Just duplicate it by holding the Alt key and dragging the shape downwards. Now cut one shape from the other. If you are not comfortable using the shape builder tool, you can do this cutting and joining of different shapes with the Pathfinder panel also. Now place this shadow back at the door. We are going to make some smaller shapes. Let's curve their corners and duplicate them by holding the Alt key and dragging, and then hit Ctrl D to repeat the action to make several copies of them. Now adjust their size in ascending or descending order. Okay, once that's done, select them all and reduce their opacity somewhat. I think 60% is okay. We can adjust it later. I think this shape could also use some shade. It's really up to you how many shapes and how much detail you want your illustration or vector work to be. You can give shadows and highlights to every small object, or you can just decide that some of them require it and some of them don't. This small rectangular shape we are going to use later on. We can give some shadows and highlights to the big tail also. Cut the middle part with the shape builder tool. And now duplicate these copies and make smaller copies of it, these shapes. And then we are going to place them on top of one another so they are gradually increasing. Of course, you can achieve this with a gradient. It depends on the style. Increase their opacity a little bit. The upper one we are going to use later on for highlights. The same shadows that you might see in the final illustration are done all the same way. I might skip them here to save time, but the same principle is used by me everywhere, using building of shapes, then cutting with the shape builder tool, and then reducing their opacities. So I hope you guys can do it on yourself from now on. Okay, now it's time to make the highlights of our vehicle. This is after that some more details, extra detail I might add. Let's zoom in a little and select the first shape that we want to make the highlights of. With the pen tool, draw the highlights the way that you like to appear on your shape or vehicle. There is no fix how an highlight should be. Highlights and shadows are mostly random, depending on the light source. One rule that must be kept in mind: highlights are always towards the light source. Now select all the shapes that you want to cut from each other, and with the shape builder tool cut them. Change the color to white and turn off the stroke color. Reduce the opacity. It depends on the opacity level, depends on this, that how strong you want an highlight to be. Hold the Alt key to duplicate the shape and drag it, then adjust it with the arrow or directional keys for more precision. With the eyedropper tool, take the sample from the first shape, so we do not need to adjust the opacity again. Make the highlights of every shape the same way. Make duplicate copies by holding the Alt key and dragging. It will make 2 copies, then cut one shape from the other, and then adjust its opacity and color, and then place it on the shape again. Now we are going to make a bigger highlight which goes across the entire body of the vehicle. With the help of the pen tool, let's make a big highlight. One thing you should keep in mind when you are making a big highlight: it should not be very strong. If your design does not require it, the opacity should be reduced. I find it myself more pleasant if smaller highlights have more opacity and bigger highlights have less opacity. Now cut the redundant part with the shape builder tool. Okay, now this shape is corrected. We are going to reduce its opacity a little. Introduce a little bit more interest into this highlight by omitting some of its parts, so it's not one long highlight. There should be gaps in it, because in nature things are not totally awesome. Let's bring this shape forward with Ctrl Shift and the bracket keys. Ctrl Shift and bracket keys can be used to bring an object forward and backward. Let's cut one shape from the other with the help of the shape builder tool. Let's place the highlight back on the shape. Do the same for the light. And let's make another highlight for the door. We are going to use the rectangular tool here. Curve the corners. Now duplicate the shape with the Alt key and cut one shape from the other by the shape builder tool. Now take the sample of the white fill. Let's make very fine and small and thin highlights for the sides of the windows. Always be careful for some place like this that your highlight should not be too big. We should make same highlights for the rest of the windows. The last two windows could be also made the same way. Now we are going to make highlights for the back tire. The highlight will be made in the same manner that we made our shades. Let's make it in 3. Cut one shape from the second one, and from the second one cut another third shape, smaller in size. Now place them all together, and with the eyedropper tool take the sample of the highlight color, as you can see. Now let's make a background. I'm going to change the background color later on, but I need it for the moment because I'm going to make some highlights for the windows, and those highlights will not appear on the background. Yellow background does not look that bad myself. Okay, let's copy the window or the door. Let's make strips of rectangular shapes. Let's duplicate this shape and increase its width a little. Now select them both and rotate them. Change their fill color to white. If you hold on the shift key, it is going to rotate exactly 45 degrees. Let's make another copy for later use. Let's cut the redundant part. We just need which will be crossing the windows. Now place them over your windows. Give them proper fill color and opacity. Adjust them. You can use the directional keys for more precision. As you can see, those light highlights of the windows are appearing on the colored background, which will not be possible on the white background. Now let's make highlights for the back windows also. Select both of the shape and adjust their positions. Make another copy with the help of the Alt key. Now cut them both with the shape builder tool while the Alt key is selected. You can increase the opacity of these highlights if they are not very visible. It depends on the color of your background, which sort of color that you use. Okay, I hope by now you are feeling comfortable on how to make highlights on any shape or object in your illustration. In the final illustration of this vehicle, there might be some extra highlights or their opacities might be adjusted by me. Some extra details also might be added by me, but they are all made in the same manner that I have made the rest of the shapes. Just to save some time and to reduce the length of the video, I might skip those steps here, but you guys can make them in the same manner. So I hope you like this illustration. If you do, and please do subscribe to my channel because it does not cost anything. And one last thing, I do like your feedback on how to improve my videos. The audio and voiceover is a brand new addition to my videos, so if the quality of the audio is not very good, so I really do appreciate for it. Bear with me and for some time, and it will improve with the passage of time. If you guys know any tips on how I can improve the quality of my audio, then please let me know. And as always, thanks and bye for now.